in fourth grade, I said to myself, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And then I wanted to become an attorney. So during that time, I was with my dad. He used to work for Continental Airlines in Houston. And so I would fly out there and I would go work in the hangar with him. And he would just show me everything of how to build and function an aircraft. He was an aeronautical engineer for Continental Airlines. And then he became a pilot. And so because of that, he just taught me so much when we had those alone time with each other. And in that time, it was the math, it was science, and just, how to tackle different problems using math and science. So from there on, I just continued to just grow, but I wanted to be more an attorney. I wanted to help others and ensure that I can help them with their cases. And I got an opportunity to be an analyst for a computer forensics company. Attorneys hires those computer forensics companies to extract the data, the images that you see in court of them presenting. That was my job, was to extract those images. And because I had that background with attorneys, they gave me that opportunity. And that's where my career in data started off. And then I eventually moved back to Tampa, Florida to work at SOCOM in their AI office. Spent about almost 2 years there. And then eventually I started my own company. So I'm like, regardless, I became the entrepreneur I've always wanted to be. And, this is really an honor for my father because back in '08, as a pilot, he did pass away in a plane crash.
This is Dr. Laura. Welcome to Mind Candy Podcast, where we empower women's voices and tackle current issues related to psychology. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Laura back with Mind Candy. Today I have Yasmine Gardiner. She is here to talk about AI in all things math. She is brilliant and awesome, and we connected earlier this year, and I'm so excited to have her on my podcast. Yasmine, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and talk about your company and all things girl boss coding and math. And I think a lot of people will be very impressed, including me. So take it away.
Absolutely. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Yasmine Gardiner. I am the founder and CEO of ClearSet.AI. ClearSet.AI is a company that uses AI in data quality, data management, and also AI in the construction and real estate sector. So I built this company a year ago, and thus far, we have not only won a pitch summit, we have also been accepted into 2 acceleration programs here. And, just being able to be an educator in a community that's super curious about AI has been super fulfilling for myself. And I'm very happy to be here to continue to talk more about my journey to educate and also encourage others, but then also just to relive in some questions that I always get asked about AI and target those answers as well too. So I'm super excited to be here and just continue the growth of AI and what it can do to help society and being a great educator.
Yes. Well, I think I'm probably just as excited as a listener because I feel like I have so much to learn with AI. Like if you're explaining AI to someone, I think a lot of us know like it's automated, right? And it's programming, a lot of math and coding involved. I think of like Chat GPT. I think of, a few other really common things. How would you explain it to people like me who are like we were talking about before we started recording here today, more of like an English major and not a math person? How would you explain that?
Absolutely. So think of AI as your little brother, little sister, okay? It wants to help you out. It wants to ensure that, you're utilizing it as someone that can be that assistant for you. It wants to take some of that challenges that you go through throughout your day and alleviate that by doing those tasks for you. So how I see AI is really just like your online digital assistant. And whether those tasks are like your current workflow or even just recording calls on Zoom to transcribe those so that way you can have those meeting notes. AI is designed to help you. It's really just a computer that mimics the human brain. And so just think of it as that way, as just this computer wants to help me out and alleviate some of my tasks.
What about people out there who are, what is the Will Smith movie?
I, Robot, I think it is.
I Robot. Yeah, the people are like freaked out. AI is gonna take over. I'm sure, like a lot of people come to me as a psychologist and they're like, "Can you read my mind?" Or, "Can you cure my trauma in 3 sessions?" And I'm like, "No to all of that." Right? It's like not a great understanding, thanks to social media and movies about what psychology is. I'm sure you get your version of that with like iRobot stuff. What would you say to those people who are maybe afraid of AI or have some questions about it?
So the thing is with AI is that it's really the person who program it. So I used to work for SOCOM in their AI office, and what we like to say in the military, and those who are military as well, adversaries. Who is the adversary behind that technology? That's who you need to look out for. So, for example, myself, when we at ClearSet AI built custom models, we practice ethical AI to ensure that whatever output is not biased, and there's ethical reasons to it. Now, somebody who does not have the best integrity might program the AI to be a little bit more biased and whatnot. And so, what I tell people is that AI only focus and outputs whatever you put in. So, for example, say you're telling the AI, here are a bunch of Mercedes pictures, right? And these are just from different years, a 1970s Mercedes, a 1999, 2005, right? You're inputting that into the model. Now, the model is going to output cars that look like Mercedes because it's only Mercedes. So you would still see the logo, but you wouldn't see BMW logo. You wouldn't see a Jaguar. Why? Because you're only telling it to read Mercedes only, regardless of the year or the model of it. And so because of that, AI is only targeted on one thing. If you tell it to read and output this one answer from your question, that's what it will only do. So it's not going to take over unless you tell it to take over. And so that's why you have to be mindful of, okay, if I do want to incorporate AI into my daily life, where is it going to be the most effective? And if I incorporate so many AI into my life, now I'm losing the personal touch, the human touch, because now I have different tools for different tasks, which is okay. But now it's like, am I still adding that personal touch? Am I still being creative? The answer is still yes, because it's giving you that creativity to think even more. But at the same time, you still want to use it for what you really need that's going to be effective to you.
Mhm. So I'm hearing like it's like any other job, right? Or any other industry where you get what you put in a lot of ways. I know that's a really very simplified version of maybe what you just said, but I think we fear what we don't know in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. We fear the unfamiliar. And you and I were joking before we started about, I was really impressed. You just posted, I think, something about your father and just your math abilities and just where you've come and how, and I'm paraphrasing this because it's what I read, okay, but just how accomplished you've become and creating your own company, things like that. And you can correct me and kind of maybe make that more accurate, but that's what I read when I saw it and I commented on it. But just how awesome this whole thing is for you and for everybody that's consuming it. And, I think in a lot of ways we fear what we don't know. And we were chatting before about how I think if we can get intimidated by certain things, like I am, not great with electronics. I try my best. In grad school, I got this superlative, and it was the Bill Gates Award for most likely to struggle with technology. It's a real thing. Yeah, people from grad school can actually tell you that that's true. I got like a whole little plaque and everything. But I think that those kind of things can intimidate someone like me, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that can relate. I think in a lot of ways, we as people, we fear what we don't know and we fear what we don't understand. I can relate to that a bit as someone who is an English major. Now I'm a psychologist, right? Math was not a particularly fun subject for me or a happy one. It was a lot of tears and frustration. And now I think with technology, a lot of people can relate that it is intimidating, right? The growth of technology, which is amazing in a lot of ways, but for a lot of people like that may not be is coding math minded, it may be a bit confusing or scary. What would you say to that person who may be a little intimidated by coding or AI but still interested in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell people, you know, I've in this industry, I've met so many different people with different backgrounds. I've met someone who graduated with a history major, and now they are a data analyst.
Awesome.
And
So there's hope for us.
it's possible. And the key thing that I want everyone to understand is being consistent, being disciplined. When you're getting into coding, you notice it's the same language, as far as the same kind of code that you will write and whatnot. And so think of it like this, think of it as a sport. Okay, soccer, for example. If you're new to soccer, you're going to go out to the field almost every week and just practice and practice and being consistent, being disciplined until you get that comfortability in playing soccer, whether it's a goalie, offense, or defense. Think of it as that way as well. The more you continue to learn about AI, whether that's visualization, whether that's coding, whether that's text analysis, the consistency and the discipline of wanting to learn is going to help you be more educated, more knowledgeable in AI, whether that is the front end of using AI or the back end of the programming. So that's really it. Just being consistent. You have some time throughout your day or throughout your week to learn about AI. You're already jump starting your knowledge and your growth into that industry, whether you want to pursue it full time as your career, or if you just want to use it for your position or start a new business in AI. But the key is if you know how to be consistent and disciplined, you would definitely excel as being a coder, programmer, developer, and just being a front end user as well too.
Okay, awesome. I feel like that's so validating, and so it's a lot of times I think we complicate things, right?
Mhm.
If they intimidate us or scare us, but at the end of the day, it's really our job to kind of educate ourselves and to figure out if that's something we want to include in our life, whether that's learning about coding or incorporating AI in our daily lives. I'm so curious about your story. How did you get into coding and your history with mathematics? I'd love to hear it. I know that you had posted on LinkedIn recently something about your dad and in mathematics, and I believe he was a mathematician or in the math field as well, right?
Yes. So growing up, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So in elementary school, I used to handmake like translucent kind of bookmarks, and my classmates they loved it. So I started to sell them. One color, 25 cents, two colors, 50 cents, three or more colors, $1. So I was making at least $5 a week. And at that moment
Amazing.
in fourth grade, I said to myself, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And then I wanted to become an attorney. So during that time, I was with my dad. He used to work for Continental Airlines in Houston. And so I would fly out there and I would go work in the hangar with him. And he would just show me everything of how to build and function an aircraft. He was an aeronautical engineer for Continental Airlines. And then he became a pilot. And so because of that, he just taught me so much when we had those alone time with each other. And in that time, it was the math, it was science, and just, how to tackle different problems using math and science. So from there on, I just continued to just grow, but I wanted to be more an attorney. I wanted to help others and ensure that I can help them with their cases. And then I eventually got my bachelor's of arts in political science at USF. And then I decided to take that and move to DC. DC is where I wanted to continue and pursue my law career. And after working at two law firms, I just realized it just wasn't for me. So during that time, I said, okay, I want to do a career change. And I got an opportunity to be an analyst for a computer forensics company. Now, the computer forensics company hires, attorneys hires those computer forensics companies to extract the data, the images that you see in court of them presenting. That was my job, was to extract those images. And because I had that background with attorneys, they gave me that opportunity. And that's where my career in data started off. But after that, I worked at large corporations, startups, and then I eventually moved back to Tampa, Florida to work at SOCOM in their AI office. Spent about almost 2 years there. And then eventually I started my own company. So I'm like, regardless, I became the entrepreneur I've always wanted to be. And, this is really an honor for my father because back in '08, as a pilot, he did pass away in a plane crash. So he got a chance to live out his dream, but then he also died doing his dream. So I can't even be too, upset, too hurt about that because that's his love. But that's really my story. And in my family, I grew up in the Turks and Caicos Islands. My dad is from the Bahamas. My mom is from Turks and Caicos. And so being able to be this Caribbean person with hardly any resources, there were times where I had to take a shower with a bucket to now being a founder and CEO of my own AI company and just seeing acceleration growth. It's just been such a journey coming from just low income poverty, even here in Tampa, Florida, to where I'm at today is very inspiring. But my journey has been a long one, and I am an only child as well too. So I had to mentally pull myself together to become the woman that I am today in this position.
No more imposter syndrome. Compass Psychological Services helps you build greater self confidence. Amazing. I mean, the more we talk, the more I like you and I'm inspired by you. Just insane. Amazing. The amount of strength and the amount of intelligence you exude is just so cool. So
Oh, thank
it's
you.
amazing. For our listeners, we met at the Women in Tech panel a few months ago, and just like life has been wild for both of us, both being business owners, and I'm just so happy to have you on today to talk about this because I think it's so important. I think women in STEM, it's still such a deficit that I see. Talking to other parents, talking to other people in STEM careers. How would you do? How do you feel about that? I'm curious. That's my perspective looking in a non-STEM career. What do you think about that?
You're not wrong. The industry, there's not many women in the industry, and there's not many women founders as well too. And so there's a shortage that I've been trying to grow as well, which is why I love educating people in AI and just kind of strengthening their encouragement to jumpstart into something like this and get into STEM, even the young girls. But recently I met up with another AI guru, and she was telling me the same thing. She was like, honestly, there's just less than 1% of us in this industry. And we have to lean on each other, but it's kind of hard when there's not many of us here. And I totally agree with that. But then also working in the construction industry where it's mainly men, I have to navigate through that as well too. So it's nice to come across other women in STEM and other women who want to be in STEM and just kind of grow that statistics, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. I imagine that, I know even in clinical psych, I mean, psychology, there's a lot of us females, but clinical psychology, it's still fairly male dominated. So it's interesting when you go into a field and you think it's 2024, things are different, but here we are, right? So there's a quote I love, and I forget who says it, to be honest with you. Um, I'll find it and I'll link it to this episode, but it's, if they don't give you a seat at the table, pull up a chair. So sounds
Hmm.
like you're very much doing that for yourself, but
Yep.
you're not just pulling up a chair, you're pulling up a whole dining set for like other women as well. So I think that's pretty badass.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. We have to be there for one another and support one another, especially the mental, emotional aspect that we go through, whether you're a founder, CEO, or C-suite, or even just, someone who's growing into that position and want to be in that position. We all need to be here for each other. And the best way is to find that person who is genuine on giving that knowledge and not gatekeeping it.
Absolutely. I think in all of our careers, we can relate to having some really great mentors that really inspire us to keep going. And even in those times where we're maybe not sure about ourselves. And then I think we all have, bosses and places where we work that maybe we're soul crushing instead. And I think that, at least I've had both of those experiences in the last few years. And it has been genuinely, both of them are inspiring in different ways. And I think it's just really cool to connect with people, like you said, that are genuine and kind and have your best interest at heart and can give you some really great direction of where to go when you're starting out. Women listening who are maybe interested in coding and AI, how would you tell them to get started? Where would they look? How would they get started in this career?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to tell people AI has so many branches to it. So there's machine learning. If you are interested in predicting and forecasting, like for example, I tell people if we had just an inch amount of knowledge or inch amount of forecasting of what COVID would have done to us, I'm pretty sure we all would have prepared. So if you're interested in forecasting, machine learning, if you're interested in text analysis, like for example, those transcribing AI tools that you would use in meetings, natural language processing, are you into visualization, building those charts? So I tell people figure out where you want to go into AI and then you go into the coding. So Python, SQL, Tableau, Power BI, because then you get to really see and be more of a niche until you continue to grow into the other branches as well too. But then there's also resources out there, like of course YouTube is out there. There's another platform called Udemy, and that right there, they're always having discounted courses for like a course could be $100 and discount to $15, and then you get a certificate completion afterwards. And the courses ranges from 1 hour to maybe 24 hours. It just depends. But those are also great starters to really get you involved and fulfill that curiosity. But I like to tell people figure out where you want to go in AI. So my specialty is machine learning, visualization, data science, and also data governance. Now I can branch into natural language processing as well too, but I've been focused on more of what I can do and growing into my other skill sets like computer vision by reading objects, letting the AI look at your phone and say, okay, this is a phone. And every time I input a picture of a phone, you can now can detect that that's a phone. So there's different branches. There's so much going on in AI. It's great to figure out where do you want to go and then start learning about those coding programming languages.
That's amazing that all of these things I did not know. I think a lot of us consumers that are consumers only just see these things, out there and we don't know what's behind it. We don't know all the work that goes into it and all the interesting subfields. I know that a lot of people ask me, they're like, what's the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist? And there's different kinds of therapists. And I think, unless you really kind of get in there and figure it out, it's who I didn't know before grad school, right? And so unless you start really educating yourself, I think it's really challenging to even know, right, what options there are. And maybe instead of becoming intimidated by it, maybe approaching it with curiosity instead, and empowerment.
Yeah, see it as like how is it going to help me? Whether that's my personal life or even in my business position life as well too. For example, marketing, content creation. How does AI help you with scheduling those posts? You have to be consistent on social media nowadays. And it gets difficult when you have to constantly have to post and take time of that. AI is there to schedule those posts for you. So how can I even create something like that? Well, let me learn about it. What goes behind that aspect? So you really just have to sit here and think, what is giving me some issues or taking so much of my time, and how can I use AI to utilize it? That's where you start seeing more value, and that's where you start alleviating those fears because you're realizing, oh, this is designed for one aspect because I'm telling it only to do one aspect.
Compass Psychological Services helps you manage stress and maintain a healthy work life balance. That seems much more manageable when you're learning about something one thing at a time, right? Not seeing it as this huge thing to be, confused by. That's amazing. Well, I feel like I'm learning so much today selfishly, right? Let alone hopefully I know the listeners are too. What are some resources that you think or books or articles or websites or apps? What do you think are good like intro resources for people who are really kind of engaged with this and interested in what you have to say and what you do for a living?
Yeah, so one of my go-tos have been towards data science. It's a platform that just posts nothing but articles and it updates on the latest softwares and different things that are going on in the industry, even conventions. Another one would be TechCrunch. TechCrunch is one of the biggest platforms where they're posting the latest and up-to-date companies. And they also have a convention where I believe it's where, now don't get me wrong, I think Uber and one of those big platforms. Oh, Dropbox has been a winner at their tech crunch years ago, and that's how they blew up as well too. I believe Serena Williams Ventures is also a partnership with TechCrunch at their summit as well. So TechCrunch is a really great platform, and I highly recommend if you can go and attend their convention, please go. Another one I like to be a part of is on LinkedIn. It's called machine learning, or it's like machine learning group or something like that that involves machine learning. And that's where you can find just so many cool things going on in the world. Like the last time I was on there, there was this guy, French guy, who created an AI where you can embed it into your security cameras and catch people shoplifting, and there's a video that of it. It's super cool. So on LinkedIn, it's like a machine learning group. It's free to everyone. Over 2 million people is in that group, and you can just learn of just the latest technology, the latest machine learning kind of algorithms to build out. And again, machine learning is predicting and forecasting. So being able to have that kind of insight as well too. So those have been my three go-tos, just to stay up to date.
That's amazing. So you're a very busy woman. What does a typical day look like for you with your, being the founder of this?
Whew, my typical day has so has been a mix of potential clients getting on calls with them, current clients as well, updating them on their projects. Has been fundraising, so talking to investors, because we're also an acceleration program. It has been being a part of that, and that takes at least 3 hours of my time too. Also meeting with my technical team, ensuring that they're good, they're okay, and getting that leadership towards them as well. And then also just formulating the branding of our future products that we're pushing out as well too, getting the word out there at networking events. So my day to day has can go up and down, especially because I also sit on the board for a nonprofit. So I'm also having those conversations as well too, and being a part of different expos to push out my nonprofit's initiatives. So my day to day just fluctuate of just being around people, which I cannot complain because that's my love.
I can see that. That's amazing. So casual, not busy at all, very low key.
Yes.
What would you say to, a lot of women that listen to this podcast are a lot like you. They're brilliant, they are hardworking, they are, innovative, they're entrepreneurs, or they're, change makers in their field. What would you say to them about, not only meeting your needs with inspiration and, hard work and excitement towards their projects and their careers and these amazing like babies that I feel like we have, which are our companies, right? How would you maybe give someone some pearls of wisdom that you've used to have that balance of work life balance?
I say invest in people. I like to say, be at the right place at the right time to meet the right people, to be the right vessels for your mission. And for me as a believer, for God's mission as well. The right people, oh my goodness, I'm about to make me cry, but my two partners have been super helpful. They have been so helpful. They have been so genuine. They have been there for me. And same thing with my team. They've showed me so much love and loyalty that all I can do and want to do is pour into them to ensure that their technical and personal skills are up to par, because they have just been such amazing people. And I just want to give back to them. So I say, find the people who truly believe in you. Yes, the mission is great because they see your vision, but they know that you can get the work done. They know that you can spearhead the mission. They know you can be that visionary for the company or for your own agenda. But if you have that right people in place and pour into them like they're pouring into you, you are going to go so much further. And even when you come across adversaries and challenges, it's not going to be as difficult, because you have them with you. You have them to help you with different ideas and say, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? Now you have their wisdom, because why? The trust is there and the genuine is there and they believe in you. So I really say invest in people who believe in you. And people, like they say, I could be wrong. Like they say, you can go far by yourself, but you can go further with others. And my goal is to create longevity, and that's what I want everybody else to be, is longevity. Yes, a business, like they say, can go up to 5 years, and then next thing you know, it fails, and that's it. But how do we go past the 5 years? The right people in place, the right people who are genuine about you, and also showing you kindness and understanding. You need people who understand. Listen, things happen emotionally, mentally, things happen, and I have you as to understand what I'm going through, but then also being that backbone for me. So invest in the right people.
Even the most successful couples can have breakdowns in communication. However, Compass Psychological Services provides tools to help navigate these pressures together. Absolutely. And I think what I'm also hearing is we don't have to do it alone. We don't have to do everything alone and break our backs. I think we as women, especially high achieving women, we have our kind of this problem, or at least I'll speak for myself, where try to do everything ourselves. That can be a control issue, that can be a fear issue, can be so many different things. And what I'm hearing is that to really be successful, not only individually, but if you have started your own company or thinking of starting your own company, it's to invest in people around you that you can trust and rely on, and that you can, have this reciprocity of giving back to each other and supporting each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that friendship as well too. Both of my partners, I was friends with them for a long time before I brought them into the company, and it just worked out. And they didn't even know about each other, but because I value people and value being around the right people, their relationship grew, and now they're really close friends as well. So it's us three stooges
I love that.
here.
Sounds like less stooges, more like brilliant people. Women, all three women.
No, so one of them, is both of them are guys, but one of them, he's part of the LGBT community, and then the other one, he is just my nerdy go-to. He is a comedian for Keenan's SNL team. So that's why I say the Three Stooges, because we're just comedians here, just talking and laughing and giggling.
Okay, so like actually maybe some stooge action going on beyond. Okay, makes sense why you were laughing at all my silly jokes before we started recording.
Gotta have some fun.
Okay, we both love humor. You have to, and I feel like can be so serious. I've also lost my father, and it was just horrible, right? Like losing a parent's awful, but I do feel like they're both probably looking down at us and pretty freaking proud at this
They
point.
are. They're super, super proud.
Yeah.
And it's great that we're making them proud, that we're making decisions that won't disappoint them. And so that's also been another key thing to my heart, is I don't want to disappoint my father. I'm 28, but by the time I was 26, I lost all of my grandparents. So I even lost that luxury as well too. So this has been an emotional roller coaster for me, but at the end of the day, I said I don't want to disappoint them, because regardless, they're looking down. And so our parents are just very proud of us. And so I commend you even well, Dr. Laura, for just continuing to going. I know it's hard. I know it's tough. But
It was
you're
easy. No, I'm just kidding.
like, no, of course, it's super
What?
easy.
It's hard? What
But
are you talking about?
he's proud of you as well too. So congratulations to you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's been a journey. And, hopefully, having this podcast, the goal of it is to get experts like you, right? On where you're brilliant, you're so accomplished, and and honestly, selfishly, I get to learn new stuff every week, right? I was telling you before um, math and science were not fun for me. Well, science was fine, but math was not fun, right? And it was a lot of tears. You have tears of joy with math. I had tears of like pain and agony with math. And it's just so, and I'm sure a lot of, listeners can relate either to your side or mine, right? Like two different experiences. I'm sure there's like something in the middle as well as all things. But I think that it's just so inspiring to learn, we all are so different. And I think that that's what's so cool about life is we get to meet people who have different backgrounds, different experiences, different brains, different beautiful, brilliant brains that we can learn from and constantly be challenging ourselves. So yeah, so cool. I mean, I understand a lot of what you say, but I'll look it up and I just love listening to you.
And I do want to touch upon the math part too. Math, it can be tricky. It can be very complicated. everyone can learn math if you have the right teacher. It comes down to the right teacher. I was thankful and grateful enough to have my father to teach me that. And even in school, I've had good math teachers as well too. But I tell people, and even the youth, you got to have that right teacher who's passionate and want you to learn, and who's also dedicated on learning on what your learning style is. Are you visual? Are you audio? Like, what is your learning style? And let me adapt to that so that way you can grasp that information. And I really value on teachers and respect them so much, because without them, they really it really becomes harder how to learn different things. But I just wish there was more and more math teachers who can really be that educator, so that way people can see, oh, math is really not that hard. I just didn't see it in this way. So I try to be that math teacher as well too. That way people can get excited. Even though we don't always use the quadratic formula in real life or something like that.
Well, we also don't speak in Victorian literature like what I learned. So some things we're gonna use, other things we're not gonna use, right? I mean, I take that back. I'm sure a lot of people do talk like that. There's like festivals for those kind of things, right? So good for them. Amazing. But oh my gosh, it was such a pleasure talking with you today. I hope you come back. I'd love to, have you on again to talk even more about, STEM and coding and math and all those fun things. I still have so many more questions, but I like to keep these under an hour. So it was amazing, Yasmine, to connect with you. I will be linking all of the things we talked about today, especially those resources that you discussed of like kind of how to get started. To this episode, as well as all your handles and your website, because I know people are going to want to learn more. And I just really enjoyed having you on today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you to the listeners. I hope I fulfilled some curiosity. I hope I jump-started some excitement into getting to AI. I'm just grateful to be here, and I really appreciate you all dearly, dearly. Please reach out to me for any questions or any kind of understanding or sample work. It doesn't matter, but just reach out to me, and I'll be there to fulfill any more questions.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our episode about AI and coding with Yasmine. Please follow her on LinkedIn and her socials. She has a lot of really awesome information to share, and kind of like she was saying, makes it very like interesting and understandable for people like us putting us together that are less scared now and more excited. So mission accomplished for one person. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Again, this is Dr. Laura with Mind Candy Podcast. All things female forward, female empowerment. Tune in next week for our next episode, and don't forget to hit subscribe and share with someone that may be interested in this episode particularly. Have a great day and be well. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Laura with Mind Candy. A quick note just to discuss, as I am an ethical gal, ethical psychologist, none of these subjects or the information in the podcast constitute any kind of therapeutic relationship. All of that information can be found in our terms and conditions. Everything we discuss on Mind Candy are the experience of myself and my guests, and it does not constitute advice or a therapeutic relationship. Thank you so much, and don't forget to hit subscribe.